When our organization started planning this gathering, we really started from a place of what is it really going to take to help our communities thrive? What does that look like? What does that feel like? And what topics or pieces of our communities should be included in that discussion? In the past, you've seen the Sustainability Summit, if you attended, really focus on economics. And as you can see from the agenda that has been built for the next 2 days, there's a much more holistic approach this time, tackling 4 key pretty big areas. The first being community economics and quality of life. The second today, workforce development and training, really growing our own in our region. And tomorrow, community and cultural well-being and our lands and waters. And so I'm just really excited to have these really holistic conversations about how do we make it affordable to live in our communities? How do we address renewable energy needs? How do we work to save our native languages? How do we work on cultural revitalization? How do we tackle the opioid epidemic? We know that our communities can't thrive if we are not spiritually and culturally well. How do we protect our lands and waters so that our ways of life can thrive for generations to come? And so this approach in the next 2 days, we hope that everybody engages in all the different different category areas and these really important discussions. We know that we all need each other to move forward and to thrive in all of these different aspects of our communities and our region.
Well, this is the Bristol Bay Sustainability Summit, and this is the second time Bristol Bay organizations have put it together. Our first one was in 2019, and it was a much smaller gathering. And the goal really is to bring together people from throughout Bristol Bay to talk about what the future of the region should look like and what people want for their communities and what a sustainable, healthy Bristol Bay is.
I'm just excited to be here and to learn more on how to be a part of big change.
It's so important to be in the region, to bring people together, to have the opportunity to meet in person after being apart for so long. It's so refreshing that we're not talking about Pebble, that these communities and tribes have the time to start reinvesting in other priorities. So there's been a lot of hope shared today and a lot of really good work and a lot of hard work in terms of investing in the future and investing in young people.
What I appreciate and I'm looking forward to about this Sustainability Summit is that here, again, they're taking a very holistic approach. You look at what kind of the themes, community development, community health, resource development, which includes fisheries. That's the approach that we're missing when we think about this commodified resource.
I think it's really important for the Bristol Bay region to gather internally and discuss what our priorities are. There's legacy infrastructure funding. There's so many opportunities right now, but we're not really organized to take full advantage of them. At the same time, we have a lot of partners visiting in the room, so for them to be able to hear directly from our communities what we need, and then for them to be able to support and uplift that, I think is going to be an important outcome of this gathering. But I think just gathering as a region is really important in region.
We've got roughly 150 people, a mix of some of them are attending virtually on Zoom, and then some of them are here in the Dillingham High School gym. And it's one of the largest gatherings any of us can recollect being held in Dillingham in quite a while.
It's been really cool to see this conference grow. I was part of the first Sustainability Summit, which was a lot smaller than this one, so it's been really fun to watch this come to life, and so excited to be back in person. The presenters that they've gotten for this have been absolutely amazing, 5-star, I think, and I'm just happy I get to experience this.
It's really important to be back together, share space. It's really neat, especially after the last few years where people haven't been gathering. A lot of people have mentioned that they're really happy to see people from other communities, other parts of the region. just to, you know, the conversations that can happen around a table when you're all in person, just really take the whole dialogue of the event to a different level than when you're just all in different places.
This is one of the last intact salmon cultures on the planet in terms of indigenous peoples living in their homelands, surviving off of the resources, managing, stewarding the resources. It's a pretty phenomenal place. We've got a pretty phenomenal opportunity. And in terms of what we want the future to look like, you know, for me, it's that there's a viable opportunity to continue your fishing way of life in your homelands. And that's what we want. And we're lucky that we have a renewable resource. And if we take care of it, it'll keep coming back. So we just need to make sure that our management decisions, our policy decisions are able to account for community-based fishing livelihoods and ways of life.
I really believe that habitat protection is one of the most important things you can do. That's why we are still a place that has a lot of salmon. If we don't have habitat protection, we don't have any salmon coming back. You can overfish the salmon, and if you have your habitat, you can bring them back. If you don't put hatcheries all over the place and mess up your genetics, your habitat protection, keep the genetics strong. All the streams have to contribute to the genetics. We can't just focus on one genetics from one stream. I'm listening to Dr. Schindler and talk about it, and you quickly realize that we are diverse. We have our habitat protected right now. We have to keep it that way, and if we don't want to lose our diversity or our habitat. Those are the really important things. The rest of it's all politics on how many spawners do you want to come back and where do they intercept them.
The biggest threat to the sustainability of the fishery is not necessarily just with the commodified industry, right? It's the lack of a holistic approach when we think about fish as being only a resource. We have local leaders here, and we have always lived in this idea of subsistence or a very sustainable reciprocal relationship with this resource, and we've moved away from that.
I think Bristol Bay is super lucky. You know, we've got the largest red salmon run on the planet. There is no place like this on Earth, but the way we manage the fishery has alienated locals and Alaska Natives from participating in the way they want to. So I think that's definitely a priority for me, to figure out how to move forward in terms of sustaining local access, community-based fishing livelihoods.
But returning access to the fisheries here, which are unique and incredible in the world, to coastal residents and coastal communities, which is what was originally envisioned in the creation of limited entry, I think would be a great start. You know, it's going to be a long process to make that happen, but I think that really needs to happen, or you're going to see, you know, villages more and more, you know, losing population and kind of, well, it just hurts what was limited entry was originally intended for, or at least a provision of limited entry.
My name's Amber Webb. I'm from Dillingham, Alaska. I'm a Chilliwack tribal member, and why am I here? I'm here to give a presentation called Why We Hurt, the Impact of Historical Trauma in Bristol Bay and Solutions for the Next 500 Generations.
When we talk about the future, I don't want our own people to become minorities in our own homelands. We are nations, and we need to assert that and put that into place. What I showed was a personal time shadow. It's really amazing to think, you know, in my own personal time shadow, we went from free ranging to being confined. And speaking, we have our English first language. We're speaking the same language. We can understand what has happened with colonization, and and the systems that are not working, and we can work to change those right now together, and we'll be in a better position for what's coming in the future, which I foresee a lot of people coming to Alaska. Yes, we are the land of plenty right now. You know, with our water and food, and we are the land of plenty and the land of opportunity. And when you're so focused on your own region, it's easy to think, we don't have broadband, we don't have this, but we can. Those are attainable easily. Let's put our minds together, let's make that happen. But look at what we do have, and let's celebrate that, and let's reassert our sovereignty over that.
That if we don't have community, if we don't have each other, we really don't have anything. We are our greatest resource, and our culture is one of our greatest resources. So if we can understand what happened here and how we get back to our traditional ways of being and how we can indigenize in every possible way, we will have a level of success in our communities that we haven't seen in probably several hundred years. I've noticed a lot more people trying to speak their languages again. I've noticed some revitalization around Yurok, which is our traditional dance. I've also noticed a general feeling of pride that is not what I grew up with as much. I grew up experiencing more and witnessing more racism. So it's really powerful. Like today, we had this huge group of middle school kids, come in and Yurok for the whole group. And I know that those kids come voluntarily to Yurok and to learn. And it's something that has my coworker Tish Olson has been working on for a couple of years now, and they're so proud. They're proud to be involved in cultural activities. We're trying to also get at some of the deeper cultural beliefs, like reconstructing our worldview and reconstructing our traditional community structures.
We need to preserve our culture. We need to look at what happened and how do we go forward from here without dissolving our culture, making us all to where we don't care about our country and our land or our habitat anymore. We have to stay focused on what's important.
I think positioning ourselves, I had a message of lands back. It was a little radical, but I think that's the tone that we need. When you look at how our region has been divided up and who's in control of those different slices, why is, this is a native place, and why do we have the tiniest slice, tribal control? And we're the only ones proven, like with the best management, indigenous knowledge systems that have been informed over thousands of years here. Why aren't we the voices for how this region is managed? I don't even like the term managed, but that's kind of the world we're in today. And I think look at our vast landscapes we have, and unless we have local control over them, we're not going to be positioned for what's going to be happening in 100 years or 1,000 years.
Yeah, Chillistit is a program for young adults ages 18 to 28 that are interested in leadership and want to know more about the different management systems that impact Bristol Bay. And it also gives them an internship opportunity and an opportunity to network with their peers and current leadership.
It's about fishing families and future generations. I think that's our, cultural values that we want to instill in the youth, and that includes things like making sure that they have good jobs, a good quality of life in the future.
Our elders have been leaders for 40, 50, 60 years, and they deserve to retire. They deserve to have time where they don't have to do those things. And our youth, people my age, even younger and even older, need to start taking up those roles and taking up those positions so that the people that have worked for all those years can take a step back and enjoy life and not have to be that leader and have to be the ones doing all of the work. our communities right now are in a transition period where we need that to happen.
Our youth are our future, and continuing to build representation. If we were thinking about a pathway or a road forward, making that road wider, making it smoother, building representation for the people who are actually making the road forward.
Elders connecting with youth in healthy ways and relearning how to be elders sometimes when they've been removed from that elder-youth connection. We're seeing a lot of revitalization there, and we're seeing people really centering our youth in everything, which is a very traditional way of being. Like we had traditionally, as it was shared to me by Rose Dominic from the Chalke Chakak program at YKHC, we had our spirituality, our yurak, our chawyak, our drums, and all of our spirituality at the center of our community. And then around them we had our children, and our children are believed to be the closest to Creator. So they were around that spirituality, and then around that we had our elders, because they're the next closest to Creator, and they teach our children how to be successful. And they have a level of patience and knowledge, and they share thousands of years of knowledge with our kids so that those things can be passed on.
Well, youth they're going to be our future elders someday. So if we want to be sustainable and we want to keep our style of life, we have to teach them how to do our traditional practices and how to properly manage and steward our lands and resources. And so that's what we do in Chalista, is we introduce them to the different management systems that play a role in Bristol Bay so that they're better informed and can make better informed decisions as they move up into leadership positions.
It's a great brainstorming session at the very least, and we need to do more of it.
I would tell them that they would be networking with a lot of folks that care about the region. They'd be getting friends too from attending this summit, and most importantly, learning about all of the economic development opportunities in this region.
You know, people need to take control of their destiny, and how do we do that without having these conversations, you know?
I hope people come away from this just feeling renewed partnerships and just feeling a lot of love for each other and a lot of pride for coming from our communities, because we have a really special relationship with our land, and there's so much genius and beauty and excellence in our communities.